So how was your week, Debbie?
My week wasn't that great.
Okay.
I didn't do as well as I wanted to on a paper. I didn't submit it the day it was due because I was struggling with getting out of bed, having the motivation to even write the paper. I'm having a lot of problems with my roommate. The way that her and I just interact doesn't click that well. There's just a lot of different factors in my life right now that's making me struggle in school to even like show up for class. It's just super hard, and I don't know. I miss home. I miss my family. Sometimes I wish that I didn't even stay in dorm. Like, I wish I was just a commuter. So my week just wasn't that great.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, it does sound like those are a lot of feelings and things you have going on right now. So, moving from one place to another, especially coming here and not knowing anybody, that's totally understandable that you're feeling like isolated and just not as happy as you wish you could be. One thing I would like for us to focus on in this session today, hopefully, depending on what place you're in, maybe we can kind of take a look at those things and see if we can maybe put ourselves into a different mindset about them.
Okay.
So tell me about this test that you took, and how did you prepare yourself to study?
Well, I tried to make flashcards, and I got through about half the deck, and I just gave up and fell asleep and didn't really want to do it anymore.
Why did you give up?
I think me and my roommate were fighting that day.
Okay.
So I just kind of shut down and decided to just not even bother with it, and I figured the following day would be better and for me to restart, but it just wasn't, and I became really unprepared for it.
So what I hear you saying is that this argument you got in with your roommate really upset you to the point where you couldn't even focus on studying for your exam?
Yeah.
Yeah. And how did that make you feel when you had that interaction with your roommate? What exactly happened?
So we thought about the mess in our like dorm.
Mm-hmm.
So she was claiming that I was maybe too messy, and a lot of it was her stuff too. So it was kind of like a shared mess, and I feel like she's expecting me to pick up everything in the room, even though a lot of it is hers. So we kind of got into an argument about sharing the responsibilities of the dorm room. And she called me lazy, and she wished that she had a different roommate. So just her bringing me down made me shut down completely and just not want to do anything for the rest of the day but just be in bed and sleep. So when things like that happen, it just makes me completely shut down and feel really depressed.
I mean, sometimes it's expected for us to have one thing happen that ruins our day, and then we just kind of let it snowball down and don't really take care of ourselves. I think that one thing that I hear you saying is that when this argument happened with your roommate, you said, "I can't do this, and
Right.
I can't move on with this."
Yeah.
And so, with that thought you had, how did it make you feel when you had that thought of, "Oh, this is going to be the worst day ever. I'm not going to be able to get through this"?
Well, in the moment, I felt like just turning to the bad habits that I have, such as self-harming and overeating. It's just kind of like a way to help soothe myself, along with just like laying in bed and trying to just like feel nothing.
So kind of like a feeling of emptiness.
Yeah.
which caused you in turn to overeat and self-harm.
Yes.
And then are there any other maybe unhealthy behaviors and coping mechanisms that you use?
No, just the self-harm and
Self-harm and
overeating.
overeating.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just those two are the only things I think.
Okay.
And just because of it, I'm just struggling.
Okay, so let's try going back to that argument with your roommate.
Okay.
What could you have said differently or done differently in that moment to have a different outcome so you didn't feel like the date was ruined? Or what could have happened on her end as well?
Yeah, so what I could have done is I could have just left the situation, told her that I would be right back, and hopefully take a walk around campus and just kind of not let it get to me and feel overwhelmed with feelings, like what happened.
Yeah.
And what she could have done is maybe just see my side of the story and realize that we both have a lot going on and that we're both not perfect, and maybe just not get to the point where it escalated to a fight and just kind of talked it out rationally.
Yeah, that sounds like a really great solution, and I think you have the tools already to kind of put that together, but it's, of course, we can't control other people and how they're going to react.
Yeah.
We really can only control ourselves and how we're going to react.
That's true.
So is that something you find that helps you a lot, is going for walks and kind of removing yourself from situations that cause you stress and anxiety?
When I used to live at home, whenever things got too stressful, I would just go and walk around my neighborhood, listen to some music. So I would say, yeah, I would always come home feeling better. But I feel like just not being home and having this new routine, it just kind of threw the way that I handle things off, and I just kind of resulted in just shutting down completely and becoming depressed and laying in bed and using the harmful tactics to soothe myself instead of healthy ways.
Yeah, those are some pretty heavy feelings you have. Feeling isolated and not knowing anybody here, and having to find new ways to cope with things is really important, especially when you find yourself in a new situation that makes you feel uncomfortable or makes you feel not as good as you used to when you were back at home.
True.
If this situation, if looking back at it, if this had happened at home, maybe an argument with your brother or sister,
Right.
how would you have addressed it, or a friend, even a close friend, if you had been in the same room as them and they weren't picking up after their mess? How would you have addressed it with them?
I would have maybe told them the way I felt and expressed to them that I do have a lot going on, and I would make it a goal of mine to be more sensitive to their needs, and especially because if they're like my friend or my brother, someone that I really truly had cared about, I would take that responsibility and show them that what they're experiencing and what maybe I'm experiencing matters.
Yeah.
So that's what I would have done.
Yeah. And is that not how you view your roommate right now? As someone, you don't see her as someone that you can be close to, or someone because it's hard for us to open up to people who, we're not really friends with too.
Yeah.
And having an interaction like that, there's not really something you can go back and say, I'm sorry, I hope we can still be friends, because if you weren't friends to begin with, it's kind of like, oh.
Exactly.
Wash
Yeah,
your
I
hands
think it has a lot to do with just, being with someone that I'm not comfortable with. And then for her to have such like a bold personality to like even want to argue with someone that you don't really necessarily know or care to know.
Yeah, so those feelings of discomfort are really the things that get to you.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, I can see that in a lot of the different struggles that we've talked about. And, you have discomfort with how you're doing in your academics and you know how your grades are going, and you have discomfort with your living situation and being away from people, and I'm sure not getting an adequate amount of sleep every night, that makes you feel you know even more uncomfortable every day.
Yeah, that's true.
So how do you think, in a perfect world, what would it look like to you if you got all those things? You had a good, you know, what would your outlook on life be, and with other people too? If you had your academics in order, you had a good relationship with your roommate, you still had contact with all your family and friends that they're, you know, what would that look like to you?
I think I would feel happy. I would feel everything complete opposite of what I'm feeling right now. So instead of feeling depressed, I would feel happy. Instead of turning to negative coping mechanisms, maybe I wouldn't even have to even get to that point. So, because when I overeat, when I self-harm, it doesn't necessarily make me feel good about myself after the fact. So I think if everything was like you said it was in a perfect world, everything would just be perfect, like you said. So
yeah. So let's go back to that. You said you would feel happy.
Yeah.
You said you would feel good, and then you mentioned how self-harming in the moment feels good,
right,
but it doesn't at the end.
Yeah, because I don't like the way it looks.
Yeah, and it's, you know, I'm sure it hurts too. It's to some extent, and you know, that automatic feeling of the instant gratification you get from cutting yourself, that's kind of more of a surface feeling. And I think the bigger issue here is working through the things that make you want to cut and that don't give you instant gratification, and having those automatic thoughts of, oh, if I cut, I'll feel better. Or if I walk away from the situation, then and shut down, then everything will go away. Maybe if we try to restructure those to say, you know, the second you want to cut, be like, okay, well, I know that if I cut, I'm going to feel bad about it.
Right.
And I'm going to hurt later.
Yeah.
And then that's going to make me feel worse and want to do it again.
Okay.
It can be a cycle, you know?
Yeah.
Does that resonate with you?
That does. I think the next time I feel like I want to cut myself, or if I get to that low point, that I can remember what you said. So yeah, I think that I will be able to do that. I like your advice. So.
I'm hearing you say a lot of things, and you know, you seem to have a really good. You want things to go good for your life, and you want yourself to be happy. You know, I think right now we should maybe just focus on your biggest concern. So you said that, you know, you have your academic problems, and we kind of talked about your roommate.
Yes.
What else? You know, which one of those would you prioritize to be the most upsetting thing to you?
I would say that the number one thing that upsets me is the fact that I can't even get to the point to want to do homework. I don't want to do papers. I don't want to study. When I was in high school, I was a pretty good student. I got about A's and B's, maybe 1 or 2 C's. So coming to college and not being able to do my work or have the motivation to do my work is the biggest problem. And I would also be afraid to tell my parents on how poorly I'm doing because college is expensive.
Let's pause a moment. You have a fear that your parents are going to react to how your grades are. So I'm assuming you haven't been keeping in contact with them and letting them know how things are going.
Correct.
And is this something, have you found yourself a lot in the past avoiding having those interactions with your parents because you're afraid of the way they're going to think of you? Or have you normally always been open with your parents?
I think I've always been open with my parents. Like, I'm still talking to them, but I just tell them I'm good and I give them the answer they want.
Yeah. But if you know that they're going to accept you, what's the fear of telling them that you're not doing too well?
I think it's admitting that I'm struggling and admitting that I've relapsed from overeating and self-harm and just being judged. That's like my number one worry from telling them.
And those are some valid concerns. No one wants to upset their parents. But what I hear, from what I hear you saying, it seems as though maybe you're more upset about your feelings that you have towards yourself, that that you're letting yourself down by relapsing with your overeating and cutting, and you're letting yourself down by failing in school.
Yes.
So are those maybe the more concerning issues, is that you're afraid that your parents will reassure those feelings that you have about yourself?
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't think about it until right now.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a way that you can kind of stop yourself right there with those thoughts you have, because you know that your parents are going to accept you no matter what.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you're going to be okay. And the tools that you need in order to succeed, in order to not feel so bad about yourself. So where do you think a good starting point is for kind of building your self-worth a little bit and making, and getting a closer step to not feeling so horrible all the time?
I think that if I'm able to talk to my parents, express to them what's really been going on here at college, then maybe afterwards I can talk to like my roommate and try just to clear the air up, and also seeking help from like my professors, and so that way I can like be normal and be how I used to be in high school.
What were you like in high school? What was that like?
Like I said, I got like pretty average grades, like A's and B's, a few C's. I wouldn't call myself someone who is extremely outgoing. I was definitely to myself. I had 2 or 3 good friends, and that was about it. Yeah.
Sometimes 2 or 3 good friends is all you really need, to be honest. If they're good friends, there's associating with people who aren't good to you, it does nothing for you for the most part.
Yeah.
But it's fun to socialize too at the same time.
Yeah.
With people.
Yeah. So, I think also being away from them is really hard, and what makes me feel a little depressed as well, in addition to like schoolwork.
Or are you able to keep in contact with them, texting, FaceTime?
Yeah, my friends know most of the stuff that's going on with me. I'm really open with them. Yeah.
I heard you say that you feel like a way for you to get back on the horse is to seek help. So you're seeking someone else to kind of guide you into into the way you think you should feel. Is the guidance the thing that you really want the most?
I would say yes. Yeah, I think always having someone to help you and guide you has been something I'm comfortable with. I think.
So we're going back to avoiding the discomfort of doing things on your own. Okay. So remember, discomfort, that seems to be a big thing for you, is you want to avoid discomfort.
Yes.
But do you think by avoiding your discomfort, you're furthering the feeling of disliking the discomfort instead of kind of forcing yourself to, not forcing yourself to the point where you're super uncomfortable, but, kind of stepping out of your shell and being like, hey, this is uncomfortable, but I can do it and I can push through it.
Yeah, I think with that, if I'm able to get out of that comfort zone, maybe making a few friends at college would be
Yeah.
something that would make me feel better as well, and maybe just becoming friends with my roommate, so therefore I'm not feeling so low.
Yeah.
So I think those are the goals that we can talk about for next week.
Yeah.
And I'll report back.
Yeah, it does sound like some really great goals, really good ideas you got going there. So yeah, what I want you to focus on for this next week until we meet, I really want you to notice those moments of discomfort that you have. And I want you to be able to acknowledge those feelings and say, okay, this makes me uncomfortable. And instead of giving into that thought of discomfort, I want you to kind of, in that feeling of discomfort, try and react in a different way than you think you would. Or, try and say, I'm only reacting this way because I'm uncomfortable. And then we'll see if some changes happen for you.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Yeah.